Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving straight into something I find absolutely fascinating: the absolute limits of human recovery. We're not just looking at traditional mind-body practices as some sort of cultural art form, right? We are breaking them down through the rigorous lens of modern neuroscience, cellular biology, and longevity. We're going to reason from first principles here to figure out exactly how the human nervous system regulates itself. We'll track the whole cascade, literally from a deliberate physical movement all the way down to molecular gene expression and your deep sleep architecture. Let's get into it.
So think about this. In the West, we usually treat relaxation as this totally passive thing, right? Like you have an exhausting day and you just collapse on the couch, or you finally pass out in bed. But biologically speaking, that paradigm is actually fundamentally flawed. True, deep physiological recovery requires deliberate, structural engagement. Traditional Taoist philosophy treats relaxation not as an accident, but as a highly refined biomechanical skill. It's something you actively execute, not just something that happens to you because you've completely run out of energy.
And that brings us to this foundational concept called song. Basically, song is an active, alert, and highly structured state of release. When a Tai Chi practitioner tries to achieve song, they are absolutely not just going limp. Actually, scratch that. It's more like they're internally scanning their somatic structure, actively loosening their joints from the inside, and systematically discharging all that redundant muscular tension we carry around. Think of it like a biological software update. You're consciously finding and force-closing those background apps that are silently draining your nervous system's battery all day. And this deliberate physical release? It kicks off a profound neurophysiological cascade.
To really get why this matters, we have to look at the autonomic nervous system. Chronic stress literally locks us into sympathetic overdrive, that infamous fight-or-flight mode. Being stuck there floods your body with cortisol and keeps your HPA axis, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, in a state of constant destructive alarm. But deliberate biomechanical movements combined with deep rhythmic breathing, they act like a hard biological brake. They shift your body directly into parasympathetic dominance. This is your rest and digest state, and getting there actively enhances your vagal tone and bumps up your heart rate variability. It creates the exact physiological conditions your body absolutely needs to heal itself.
Okay, and the proof of this rapid vagus nerve activation is actually kind of wild and quite loud. Clinical observations show that the exact moment a master-level practitioner steps into their opening, ready movement, their gastrointestinal motility just spikes. We're talking an average of exactly 2.5 audible bowel sounds per Tai Chi move, literally. Yes, your stomach gurgling is the literal audible sound of your nervous system hitting the brakes on stress. That immediate peristalsis is hard, undeniable proof that your parasympathetic nervous system has just grabbed the wheel. Now, this rapid vagal activation doesn't just calm your stomach down, it completely alters your endocrine regulation. Look, chronic stress severely impairs that HPA axis we talked about earlier, creating this vicious feedback loop of toxic cortisol that physically weathers away your neurons. It's bad news. But the active relaxation in Tai Chi actually restores HPA axis sensitivity. By significantly lowering your salivary cortisol levels, this practice acts as a neuroprotectant. It literally shields your brain from this acidic wash of stress hormones, which opens the door for positive structural neuroplasticity. And it gets even more amazing when we look at the clinical data from a 12-week intervention. We actually see structural changes happening inside the brain itself. Most notably, there is a physical volume decrease in the putamen's gray matter. Now, the putamen is a core piece of your brain's stress-reward complex. It's a region that gets hypersensitized and literally enlarged during periods of chronic stress and depression. So through this physical practice, you are structurally shrinking the anxiety centers of your own brain. You are unwiring your deeply ingrained stress responses from the inside out. How incredible is that? So as those deeper stress centers physically shrink, your higher cognitive areas are able to step up and take control. The prefrontal cortex essentially acts as an immune system of the mind. By practicing what's known as embodied mindfulness, basically forcing your attention onto very precise biomechanical movements, you start increasing alpha wave activity in this region. This intense physical focus effectively shuts down the default mode network. That exhausting background loop in your brain that's responsible for all that endless negative rumination and anxiety? Yeah, it turns that right off. And here is where the neuroscience directly shakes hands with cellular biology. Because calming the HPA axis and shifting your brainwaves, those aren't just mental phenomena. They reach all the way down to your DNA. Chronic stress triggers what's called the NF-kB signaling pathway. This causes something biologists call sterile inflammation.
It's when your body essentially attacks its own healthy tissues, even when there's no virus or bacteria anywhere to be found. Active relaxation acts as a genetic switch. It serves as an incredibly powerful biological quencher for this inflammatory fire.
The sheer power of this suppression is undeniable when you look at the data. High-volume Tai Chi interventions drive highly significant clinical reductions in circulating pro-inflammatory cytokines. Specifically, we're looking at IL-6, IL-1 beta, and TNF-alpha. What does that mean for you? It means this moving meditation is literally altering your genetic inflammatory expression. It stops your immune system from corroding your own vascular and neurological tissues. It's a phenomenal intersection of behavior, genetics, and healthy aging all happening at once.
But wait a minute. How exactly does moving your arms slowly and shifting your weight translate into shifting your genetic expression, right? Like, what is the physical bridge between these slow physical movements and the massive molecular changes we just explored? Well, the secret sauce lies in the highly structured conscious regulation of your respiratory system, specifically through conscious breath work and the traditional cultivation of qi.
In this practice, your mind acts as a direct conductor of energy through the nervous system, using what's called Dantian breathing. And this has two clinically validated neuroelectrophysiological signatures. First, passive Dantian breathing increases temporal alpha asymmetry, which is basically a sciencey way of saying it creates a brainwave state of deep, positive relaxation and muscular release. Active Dantian breathing, on the other hand, elevates theta coherence. That generates a state of quiet, laser-like cognitive focus and heightened alertness. To actually trigger these precise brain states, practitioners move through a continuous biomechanical loop. First, it starts with somatic alignment. You elongate the spine while sinking the chest, creating internal structural space. Then, this flows right into abdominal inhalation, drawing a thin, deep breath from the lower abdomen as your arms naturally float upward. The cycle completes with abdominal exhalation, retracting the abdomen and driving that energy back down, before you seamlessly shift into autoregulation. This physical synchronization of your posture and respiration, it acts as a master switch for the entire central nervous system. But the true magic, the real turning point, happens when that conscious cognitive effort finally falls away. The practitioner plunges into a state known as rujing, or tranquility. The mind just becomes this distant witness, and the body literally breathes itself. It is exactly in this highly regulated, completely effortless state of active relaxation that your autonomic healing hits its absolute peak. It integrates your mind, your breath, and your biology into a single, unified, self-repairing system. And we can't ignore the psychological impact here, because mastering this somatic control is staggering. Clinical mediation models actually reveal that this specific cultivation of psychological resilience alone accounts for nearly 73.88% of the intervention's total clinical impact on reducing depressive symptoms. Why is it so high? Because the repeated physical mastery of controlling your own body and breath builds this profound, unconscious sense of internal control, and that permanently alters how your brain handles real-world chaos. Now, everything we've talked about so far, unwiring the putamen, quenching that sterile inflammation, mastering your vagal response, it all ultimately converges on one vital biological necessity. If you want to truly recover, build resilience, and achieve restorative, healthy aging, your body demands clinically significant sleep optimization. Active relaxation during the daytime is the absolute biological prerequisite for deep neurological clearance at night.
But, and this is a big but, to actually trigger these therapeutic-grade physiological adaptations for sleep, there is a hard biological tipping point you have to hit. That exact magic number is 150. You've got to accumulate a minimum of 150 minutes of Tai Chi practice per week. Programs that fall short of this, they only yield minor effects. But hitting or exceeding that 150-minute threshold, that fundamentally alters your sleep architecture.
When you hit that 150-minute dose, the nighttime architecture changes entirely. Listen to this. Practitioners fall asleep nearly 20 minutes faster every single night, and they gain almost an entire hour of total sleep duration. It generates highly significant reductions in the Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index. So this isn't just about feeling a little more relaxed before bed. This is a scientifically validated non-pharmacological treatment for insomnia, and it's driven entirely by daytime automatic resetting.
We've seen the molecular evidence, the structural brain changes, and the strict biomechanics of how active relaxation heals the human body from the inside out. Relaxation is not a collapse. It's a profound biological skill that literally dictates your genetic expression, your brain structure, and your sleep architecture. So armed with this deeper understanding of how your cellular machinery actually works, The question is, how will you actively rebuild your nervous system tonight?